told me before that he was going to be flying by the seat of his pants, but I think we had a masterful display there. A nice bridge from yesterday with the broader issues, and I think some of the people who have thought they've got the right to be forgotten and cornered haven't realised this enormous broader landscape that it's operating on. So I think that was a great introduction to the broader issues, and we've now got a really masterful panel that can get us into that quagmire of uncertainty that Ashley touched on. I thought I'd just make a couple of comments on some of the points that he raised that are quite interesting from the range of cases that have been playing out across Europe. We've got experts here, Miguel from Spain, Alessandro from Italy, and this immunity for damages point, a case to watch. I don't think it's been appealed yet to the Supreme Court, but on 17th of July last year, the Barcelona Court of Appeals found in a civil case that Google was liable for damages for not taking down a link that had been requested to be taken down by the Spanish DPA. And it took 10 months to take down the link. And the gentleman who had been cleared of a crime from 30 years earlier had been taking this case through the courts in 2010. And Google took 10 months to take it down. He applied for moral damages and economic damages. Miguel, correct me if I'm incorrect. And Google awarded 8,000 euros of, the court awarded damages of 8,000 euros against Google. So that case is being appealed, and there's some very interesting cases going through the Spanish High Court and through the Supreme Court. There's another one on Blogger, which he mentioned. And there have been about 4 cases in Spain that have said that Google is not responsible for the contents of Blogger itself, but it is liable for that sort of reposting. So they're separating the initial publication from the reposting on Google. And finally, one interesting one on the Dutch cases. They're very nice fact scenarios with the escort agency boss in one case and the executive in the container in another. But there's also an interesting case from the 1st of May, which aligns with the ICO enforcement notice, which is that a republication of a person who had requested delisting of information about a murder. The father of the person murdered wanted to make sure that they could delist that information, and that was then the Dutch court upheld that information should stay online. So there's these very interesting developments, and I think it's incumbent upon us as academics and lawyers to look at that different jurisprudence developing, both in the courts but also in the DPAs. We have really, I mean, as you said, it's somewhat of a matter of field, and it's quite critical, I think, that when different jurisdictions with different traditions of privacy and freedom of expression are working on these problems. Also on the French, there's actually been 6 cases that are pro-freedom of expression, I think, in the French courts. So there's a lot of jurisprudence developing, and it has really interesting dimensions for beyond the one case that most people are thinking about in the public debate, which is the Castella ruling, which is sort of very much in the extreme. And so that broader context, I hope we can get into a little today. We've got a really expert panel. We've got 2 sort of nice setup of, we've got one speaker who's going to do the fly-in again. We've got 2 perspectives from the corporate angle with Bertrand Verin and Patrick Constant, who have been working on this from the perspective of users and search engines. We've got 2 views from regulators, from 2 of the most prominent regulatory authorities, Steve Wood from the RCO and Matthias Moulin from the CNIL. And then finally we're going to have some academic rabble-rousers with Kieran and O'Hara and Paul Bernal. So I'm going to start with Bertrand, and then we'll have Steve and Matthias, and then we'll have the academics take up the end. So they'll let you have 10 minutes.